Hello, everybody. There's YouTube. Good day. Evening. Get you fine people on all the other platforms set up for screen share too, and we'll get going. Okay. Yeah, that should be good. All right, let's see. I've been busy getting a couple of old teeth pulled. So I'm kind of out of the loop for the afternoon's news. Curious to see what's happened here. It's all stuff I played yesterday. That too. Okay, this is all I got. Claudia Steinbaum got groped. And kissed. You see that? He goes straight for the boobas. Straight for the boobas from behind. He goes in for the smooch and he goes for the boobas. Honk honk. Hey man. All right. Okay. Let me scroll down. Yeah, Claudia Sheinbaum, president of Mexico. Somehow. Okay. There is morning. There we go. Oh, hold on. Screwing us here. Gonna do that show more thing. We gotta click and scroll, click and scroll. Ah! I don't know why it does this sometimes. Other times not. It'll like load it automatically. Nice. Okay. There we go. Well, here's some of Mamdani's victory speech.
After all, the conventional wisdom would tell you that I am far from the perfect candidate. I am young, despite my best efforts to grow older.
These people are like suckers for stupid crap like that. Someone with a silver tongue who can start out retarded little jokes like that. They will fall like dominoes.
I am Muslim. I am a democratic socialist.
Yeah, then he follows it up with that. Follows the cute little joke up with that. And they cheer like freaking morons.
And most damning of all,
I am a Muslim and a democratic socialist, and now I run New York City. 24 years after 9/11.
I refuse to apologize for any of this.
Astonishing. I don't know what they're putting in the water up there, but clearly frying brains.
We're done hiding. We're done. We're done being tortured and hurt and judged. This is the correct religion. This is the religion that all of humanity needs to be upon, of Islam. And we will not stop until it enters every home. So I want you to repeat after me. I want to hear it in every single district. It should tremble. Brooklyn should hear it. The Bronx should hear it. Queens should hear it. Sing it as if the Ummah depends on this, my brothers and sisters. La ilaha illallah. Muhammadan Rasulullah. There is no God worthy of worship except Allah, the God of Jesus, the God of Moses, the God of Abraham, and
Mm-mm-mm. Where you going, New York? Good job.
And they are their brand of Democrat, if you will, is there.
Let's see, what is this? Democrats are allegedly already backing off on their support of Mamdani. They know that his communist pipe dream will never work out in their favor. I don't know, man. I will believe these people backing off that when I see it. Who? Oh, what? The Kentucky guy? I mean, was he ever on board with Mamdani to begin with? I doubt it.
And they are their brand of Democrat, if you will, is they are moderate Democrats. I would not typically ask you about a mayor's race in New York, but given what happened last night, I do want to ask you about it. I mean, because it has raised questions about the direction of the Democratic Party going forward for midterms and potentially for presidential candidates in 28. Zohran Mamdani is a Democratic socialist. That is not your brand of politics. In the Democratic Party, but has people saying that he is or should be the direction that the party is going. What do you think of his win, and do you think that he is a leader in the Democratic Party?
I think what we're seeing is it's less about what people call themselves.
So, okay, these are the final numbers here as of this morning. 91% in. 50.4 for Mamdani, 41.6 for Cuomo, 7.1 for Sliwa. Oh, and 0.3 for Eric Adams somehow. Man. So, I suppose Sliwa being in there didn't end up making a difference in the end after all. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that last 9% will change that, but
And more about what they're focused on. The winner there in the New York mayor's race was unquestionably more focused on people's struggles, on the inability to afford housing, on the inability.
So, how did it get like that? How did it get there to begin with? You won't find them peeling that onion ever.
Inability to pay the bills at the end
Never,
of the week and
ever.
end of the month. And I think people are less focused right now on even the policy proposals, but what they want is someone committed to trying to address it. And I think you see that across all the races, and that should be a wake-up call, not just to Democrats, but to everybody. You know, people are concerned the American dream is slipping away, and that's a
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think you're going to see any of the people that went in for him back off of him. Nope. And this guy was never in to begin with, so. Okay, Trump says, happy anniversary. On this day, November 5th, 1 year ago, we had one of the greatest presidential victories in history. Right? Such an honor to represent our country. Our economy is booming, and costs are coming way down. Affordability is our goal. Love to the American people. Oh, joy. Van Jones and, what's his name? Scott Jennings. On Mamdani's speech.
Scott?
Oh. Are you saying he wasn't the unifying voice of a generation that you predicted
I don't know why anyone would expect that. I guess these idiots did.
moments ago? Axe, where was the man that you predicted would not slice and dice the look, guys, he started his
the campaign Mamdani goes out the window now. That was all bullcrap.
His speech by quoting Eugene Debs, who ran for president of the United States 5 times as the Socialist Party of America candidate. He repeatedly attacked people in this. I know my socialists. I keep a close eye on them. I work here. So here's the thing. He went after everybody that he thinks is a problem. People who own.
Dean Wheeler 9692 asks, "Is this a regularly scheduled show?" You bet it is. Absolutely. So I am on, let's see, 5 to 7 Eastern time, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then I do a 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock in the morning on Monday and Friday, and then Saturday afternoon, 1 to 3. Sometimes, I mean, sometimes someone will, I'll take the afternoon off or whatever. Yes, I am here practically every day. Indeed. You're out in California. Okay. Yeah, you got to factor in the time change for East Coast, West Coast, but yes, indeed. All right, let's see. Where were we here?
Things, people who have businesses. He said an interesting quote: "No problem too large for government to solve."
Oh, man.
Or too small. Important.
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
And so when you think of the world that way, that every problem, no matter how small or how large, is something for government to do, let me just decipher this for you. Tax increases as far as the eye can see, which means the people who need to provide jobs to the young people that you say need jobs are going to flee as quickly as they possibly can. I think this was a divisive speech, and he clearly sees the world.
Absolutely. Of course it was. I don't know why anyone would expect any different. Now that he's crossed the finish line, all the masks come off.
In terms of the people who are oppressing you and...
Oh, and he wears many of them. And I'm sure if you paid any attention to him, you saw them. You saw the changing accents, the fake smile. Ugh. Disgusting, that smile.
The oppressed, and he said the oppressed are now in City Hall.
Yep. And yes, as Floating Robots mentions to Mr. Dean Wheeler out there in chat, we also do a 24-hour live stream where other hosts take other time slots throughout the day. Catch that. We don't do that on YouTube, but at least for the time being. But you can catch that on Rumble and DLive for now. But I would suggest watching on Rumble, because I think our days on DLive are numbered. I'm fed up with how they operate. What does PSB stand for? It stands for Patriot Soapbox. SB. Good to have you, by the way. It was good to have a new viewer. So can I ask how you found us? How'd you find the channel? Did it just like pop up and recommended? Curious, because we've been heavily censored for a long time. We were banned from YouTube for a period of roughly 5 years, and we're only just recently unbanned thanks to the efforts of the House Judiciary Committee. We were one of the handful who were unbanned. Just popped up on my phone. Well, that's okay. That's good to hear. That's great. At least some new people are seeing us. Fantastic. Never seen you before, he says. Cool. Cool beans. Well, welcome. Good to have you. Someone, please drop Rumble channel for Dean. If Steph, if you're grab that and post it for him. Much appreciate that. Okay, let's see. Let's keep cranking here. Senator Rand Paul is at the White House with President Trump. Wow. Well, I wouldn't be too terribly surprised by that or read too much into it. They need his vote, you know. There are occasions that will arise where they will absolutely need his vote. So of course they're going to they're gonna engage with him. I mean, despite his, you know, not so kind words of late, not so amenable attitude. when it comes to some things. All right, let's see. Next up, we got Trump. So he did a I think this was last night. This was at the dinner. No, pardon, no. This is early this morning. This is this morning.
And last night it was, not expected to be a victory.
It was at like 8:30 this morning. Good time.
It was very Democrat areas, but I don't think it was good for Republicans. I don't think it was good. I'm not sure it was good for anybody. But we had an interesting evening and we learned a lot. And we're going to talk about that. And I'll say a few remarks. And then after that, I'll ask the press to leave. The press has been very, very nice to us the last couple of months. They were great to us in terms of the foreign visits with China, Japan, South Korea, Malaysia. And last night it was, not expected to be a victory.
Yeah, like I said, the train wreck we watched coming in slow motion, saw it miles away. Yeah. Oh, cool. Hey, look at that. I think Steph, our first member on YouTube. I think so. I don't know how to check the the list. But I saw her join message pop in there. Whoa! Whole bunch of gift memberships. Hot dang, Steph. Woo-wee. All of y'all owe Steph a big thank you for that. That is I didn't even know that you could gift subs on YouTube, but that's fantastic. That's so cool. Thank you, Steph. Oh, cool. That's wonderful. All right, let's keep going. That's right. This morning, Trump had this little morning, I don't know if it was like a breakfast thing or whatever, but he had all these Republican senators in, and he spoke briefly for 30 minutes or so. And then the doors were closed, the press was ushered out, and they had a chat. They had a chat about, well, who knows what. Presumably what to do next, and, like a strategy meeting, and hopefully Trump giving a good talking to some of these people.
But I thought we'd have a discussion after the press leaves about what last night represented and what we should do about it, and also about the shutdown and how that relates to last night. I think if you read the pollsters, the shutdown was a big factor, negative for the Republicans. And that was a big factor. And they say that I wasn't on the ballot was the biggest factor. But I don't know about that. But I was honored that they said that. And I just want to thank everybody for being here. But I thought we'd have a discussion after the press leaves.
Going to be talking to them about the filibuster. Yeah.
It's time for Republicans to do what they have to do, and that's terminate the filibuster. It's the only way you can do it. And if you don't terminate the filibuster, you'll be...
I wasn't too sure about this to begin with. Like I was kind of wary of this. I gotta be honest, but at this point, like I think he's right. He's right. They will absolutely do away with it the second the tables are turned. The second they have power, and the moment the opportunity arises for us to filibuster something that they want, they'll chuck it. They'll pack the court. They'll do all the stuff they're not supposed to do. They don't care anymore. They'll do it. So I suppose he's right. We may as well use it to our advantage now. Just use that chess piece on the board, get it on there while we can, because there are things that we need to do while we still have the ability to. Or else the opportunity may never arise again. You know, it's just kind of the state of things. Not wrong.
In bad shape. We won't pass any legislation. There'll be no legislation passed for 3.25. We have 3.25 years, so it's a long time. But when they can't do an extension, and John, I think they've done an extension every single time they've ever been asked forever. This is the first time they haven't done an extension. Extensions are supposed to be easy, but if they won't do an extension, they won't do any bill, even a simple bill. And we should do our own bills. We should get out. We should do our own bills. We should open up. We should start tonight with the country's open. Congratulations. Then we should pass voter ID. We should pass no mail-in voting. We should pass all the things that we want to pass to make our elections secure and safe, because California is a disaster. Many of the states are disasters. But can you imagine when they vote almost unanimously against voter ID? All we want is voter ID. You go to a grocery store, you have to give ID. You go to a gas station, you give ID. But for voting, they want no voter ID. It's only for one reason, because they cheat. We would pass that in 15 minutes. If you don't get it, you'll never pass that. You'll never talk about mail-in ballots. Mail-in ballots make it automatically corrupt. If you have mail-in ballots, automatically it's correct. Even Jimmy Carter, they had the Carter Commission after he got out of office, and he had a group of very distinguished people, Democrats and Republicans, and they passed, they recommended things take place. It was a long time ago. And they said about mail-in ballots, if there is mail-in ballots, there will definitely be corruption, because, you know, they pass through too many hands. I mean, you go in to vote, and they want you cut.
Yep.
If I thought
More on the filibuster here.
that they weren't going to pass the filibuster, I wouldn't even bring it up. They're going to pass it within the first hour. If they take power, and it's more likely that they take power if we don't do it, because we're not going to be passing any legislation. They're not going to approve anything. We're going to go 3.25 years. There won't be one bill that we're going to pass, because the easiest thing to pass is exactly right now what they won't pass. And they'll do that, and they'll wreak havoc. But let's assume they get it. They're doing it anyway, so it wouldn't matter. They're doing it anyway. And, you know, I have a case where I have great U.S. attorneys that can't be approved because of the blue slips. The blue slips, I think you should terminate blue slips, too. It's a mental termination, because it's really a custom. But if you have a Democrat senator or two is bad, but it doesn't make any difference. If you have one senator writes a negative letter on some great U.S. attorney, we had it in Manhattan, Southern District, Jay Clayton, one of the most respected lawyers in the whole country, by far, one of the most respected, and couldn't get approved. The courts approved him. The courts couldn't believe it. They did it like instantly. He went to the best schools, got the best marks, top of his class. Everything was perfect. I mean, he was like led the perfect life. Went to Sullivan and Cromwell. Legislation at levels you've never seen before, and it'll be impossible to beat us. By the way, if they do,
Yeah, here. Okay.
they're going to do it anyway, and
Yep.
they are going to immediately do the filibuster. And when they do the filibuster, they're going to pack the court. They want at least five justices.
Yep. Absolutely. He's not wrong.
Now I hear it's up to 5. I actually heard up to 7 and up to 9.
Can you imagine? Oh, my God.
Okay? They want new judges. They want to pack the court, and they will do it in the first day.
Yep.
Maybe the week. Maybe they'll slow it down, because there's no reason to rush. But they'll do it first week. They'll vote on this. And I have friends over there that are Democrats. I'm close to a lot of people. And I asked them about that, because some people say, well, maybe they won't do that. I mean, they destroyed the career of Manchin and Sinema, and they got them out. They were the only objectors. Nobody else is going to object. They're going to do it the first day. They're going to pack the court. They're going to make D.C. a state, and they're going to make Puerto Rico a state. So now they pick up 2 states. They pick up 4 senators, okay? You think you have problems? They're going to do all of the things. They're going to pick up electoral votes. It's going to be a very, very bad situation. And it's done. It's done. As soon as they attain power. Now, if we do what I'm saying, they'll most likely never attain power, because we will have passed every single thing that you can imagine that it's good, and all good for the country. And there'll be no reason to. If we don't do that, people will say they're not doing much, and they're in power. So the good news is we did the great, big, beautiful bill, and it's the greatest thing we could have done. And the smartest thing with John and
Yeah. Dire straits, man.
but I think it's a
Got to do it, I think.
tremendous mistake, really. It would be a tragic mistake, actually. It's time. It's time. If I thought they weren't going to approve, I'd sort of be with you. It'd be fine. I'd be neutral to with you. But knowing that they're going to pass it as soon as they get any semblance of control, they'll pass it first thing, then it's like we have to do it first. And we have 2 years, and we'll end up with 2-3 years, and we'll have this country so perfect. We will have passed more legislation than any Congress and any group of senators or a group of congressmen. And we will get it through. They'll send it to us. We'll send it to them. It'll be a beautiful machine. Otherwise, we're just going to sit around and argue with these people all day long. And they're highly unrealistic, highly unrealistic. Many of them are radical left subversives, frankly. So I want to thank everybody, but I think it's a tremendous mistake, really. It would be.
Okay.
As much as he can be a friend.
Oh, it's a funny little story about the Chinese delegation.
He's a tough man. He's a tough man. Smart man, actually. Very smart. The press doesn't like it when I call him very smart. You know, they think I'm not supposed to call him smart. But at least 1.4 billion people, without question. In fact, during the meeting we were there, a couple of you were there, and some of you saw it. So he's here, and he's got about 6 people on each side, and every one of those people was standing like this. They were at attention. And I made a comment to one of them, and he got no response. I said, "Are you going to answer me?" I got no response. And President Xi didn't let him have any. So if there's any question, I said, I want my cabinet to behave like that. I'm demanding that I want them sitting up like that, Tim, just nice and straight. I never saw posture like that. I've never seen men so scared in their lives. They have the equivalent of a
That's
vice
great.
president. He was. I said, "Are you going to answer my question?" And he's like, he doesn't move. I said, "What's wrong with this guy?" "Oh, I will answer all questions." JD doesn't behave like that. JD buds into conversations. I want to have that for at least a couple of days, okay, JD? We'll keep you long term, but a couple of days of that would be very good. Okay, I want to thank you, and we'll talk.
That's great. John Kelly 4903 in YouTube chat says, "I thought BSB went down in 2019." It was, I forget the exact months, but it was like fall of 2020. I think September or thereabouts. 2020. We didn't go down. YouTube banned us. But we kept going on other platforms. Kept going on DLive, and then eventually Rumble, and a few others. Yep, still been here the whole time. You can still go watch the 24-hour feed on those platforms, on Rumble or DLive or Vaughn or X. We do broadcast on X too, although I don't think they really have terribly great chat features. We do still stream there. But yeah, now we're kind of back on YouTube. All right, let's see. In a suspicious move, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries demand an immediate meeting with President Trump and congressional GOP leaders to finally end the shutdown. How about that? How about that? Second the election was over.
What their own polls show. The leadership of the Democratic Party is the most unpopular with members of their own Democratic base. And we saw that in the elections last night. The old guard is desperately trying to use this shutdown to show the radical Marxist wing of their party that they can look tough to President Trump. That's because the new power center of the left isn't the moderates. It's the AOCs and the Bernie Sanders and the Mamdanis of the party. It's the activists who believe capitalism is evil, who disdain the founding principles of their own country. They claim that the salvation of our nation will be brought about by bigger government and more bureaucracy. Look what happened in New York City last night. For the first time in American history, an avowed, openly proclaimed socialist has been elected as the mayor of America's largest city. What their own polls show, the leadership of the Democratic Party.
Yep, it's nuts. Less than 25 years after 9/11.
Happened in New York City last night. For the first time in American history, an avowed, openly proclaimed socialist has been elected as the mayor of America's largest city. Zoran Mondani is without a doubt the biggest win for socialism in the history of the country, and it is the biggest loss for the American people. He is truly a committed Marxist. And the results of that race tell you everything you need to know about where the Democrats and their party are headed. Happened in New York City last night. For the first time in American history, an avowed everything.
Yep, not good.
Many of whom represent districts with much less blue than New York City, have embraced
Message for all of America after Marxists won in New York City.
him with open arms. And because his brand of Marxism is truly a bellwether for the Democrats nationwide, we pointed out that other major metropolitan areas in the country are facing the same threat with candidates similar to Mondani. And we're going to continue to call out their effort to mainstream and normalize socialism and Marxism in America. Working families watching this play out have a right to know that socialism and communism are not just confined to New York City. They are quickly coming to a town near you unless you stand up and let your voice of common sense be heard. While Democrats, many of...
Yep. Oh, Steve Scalise, all right.
Anybody wait to see what those free buses are going to look like? I'm sure they're going to be incredibly safe and clean when you ride the free buses. Can anybody wait to see
Yeah, you get stabbed while you wait.
what those government-run grocery stores are going to look like?
Get robbed, maybe.
Shelves
You're lucky.
unstocked, expired food. I'm sure the friendliness of those employees that are government employees at those grocery stores. That's what socialism does. Socialism always overpromises and underdelivers. Anybody wait to see what those free buses are going to look like? I'm sure they're going to be incredibly safe and clean when you ride the free buses. Can anybody wait to see what those government-run grocery stores are going to look like? Shelves unstocked, expired food. I'm sure the friendliness of those employees that are government employees at those grocery stores. That's what socialism does. Socialism always overpromises.
Oh, I looped that or what?
Not socialism. 7 out of 7 swing states rejected that form of socialism that has now taken over the Democrat Party. What President Trump and House Republicans ran on was delivering results for American families. We said we would secure the border, and we actually delivered on that in record time. We said we would prevent a tax increase on anybody. Every American, no matter what income level you were at, you were facing a tax increase, in many cases a 30% or larger tax increase. We said we wouldn't do it. The Democrats bragged that they were going to raise your taxes. And the American people decided that, not New York City. The American people a year ago decided they didn't want a tax increase, and we followed through on that by preventing the largest tax increase on American families. Also by delivering no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. For seniors, 85% of whom will not have to pay taxes on their Social Security income when you factor in the deduction. We delivered on that. Every Democrat, by the way, voted no because Democrats don't want hardworking Americans to keep more of their money. New York, when they realize how bad socialism is.
Yeah, I'm curious how many big of a flight you're going to see. Oh, gosh darn it. Come here.
New York, when they realize how bad socialism is, they can just leave like they've been doing for years. They can move to states like Florida, to Texas. They can even come to Louisiana. But if they ruin America, if they're able to take hold with socialism in America, where else are people going to go? There is no plan B to this great United States of America, and we're not going to let socialism take over in this great country. New York, when they realize how bad socialism is, they can just leave like they've been doing.
Trump on his way to Miami. See if he spoke there this afternoon. We should have some clips from that for those that missed it, like I did. Okay, in a promising development, Senator John Cornyn expresses that he's open to nuking the filibuster. So like partially nuking it for certain situations such as appropriations bills, huge, and government shutdowns. John Solomon here.
You see in very subtle ways the extremist that he really is, that he tried to paint down a little bit in the last few weeks of the election. But I think the most important story for everybody to read today is up on justthenews.com. It was written by my extraordinary colleague, Jerry Dunleavy, great investigative reporter. He got inside the DSA New York group, which is the group that Mamdani belonged to before he started to distance himself. And they had a meeting this weekend that they allowed Jerry to attend, and you can see what they talked about. They are going to force the city of New York to divest from anything that is Jewish. They're going to stop the New York Police Department from training and getting certain capabilities that they don't like. They're going to regulate land sales. You may not be able to sell your piece of land in the future to who you want if the mayor doesn't like that. And then there's a lot of other agendas that are all in there. The purpose of this meeting was to make sure that the group that helped elect Mamdani in the primary and last night will have a seat at the table and will pressure Mamdani until he delivers what he told them privately he would deliver. The wish list looks like something from a Soviet republic, not something from an American capitalist city like New York City. That is the Mamdani you're going to see from this point forward, not the jovial, cool-looking kid from New York that talked a good game. This is a guy that is beholden to the socialists who got him in office, and their values are very different from those that built the Big Apple.
Mm-hmm. Republicans in California have sued Gavin Newsom to block his gerrymandered congressional map before the midterms. I don't know how well that's going to go, but hope so. Jacob Frey wins re-election as mayor of Minneapolis, which, I mean, ew, but at least he defeated that Omar Fateh guy, the Ethiopian or Somalian or wherever the hell he's from. I forget. Somalian. Enormous victory as U.S. Senate confirms. Enormous. Got a judicial nominee in there. That's good. Judge in Comey case scolding prosecutors as he orders them to produce records from the probe. Of course, they're dragging ass on that. No surprise there. Native New Yorkers largely rejected Mamdani, while those who had lived in the city for less than 5 years voted for him in overwhelming numbers. Really, that would explain a lot. Largely rejected. I don't know about that. I was born in New York City. 34% of them voted for Mamdani. 45% voted for Cuomo. 17% for Sliwa. People who'd been here for 10 or more years but were not born here. 54% of them Good for Mamdani. That's disgusting. Yep, they imported a voting base. That is what that means. 84% of women aged 18 to 29 voted for Mamdani. That is just disturbing. 84%. 65% of women 30 to 44. Also disturbing. Thankfully, the women over 45 seem to retain some level of sanity. Not looking so good for men either. Under the age of 45. About 67% on average. Good God. Voted for Mamdani. What is going on here? What do we got? Portuguese Navy and intelligence agencies intercepted a narco submarine in the Atlantic, confiscating 1.74 tons of cocaine. Oh, wow. Look at that. Look at that thing. Wow. Fancy. Sheesh. Look at that. The shit? That's wild.
I'm pleased to report that today the United States...
Now we get to the highlight reel of Trump speaking in Miami. Here we go.
I'm pleased to report that today the United States has the strongest economy, the strongest borders, the strongest military, the strongest friendships, and the strongest spirit of any nation anywhere. We have the greatest economy right now. A lot of people don't see that. But if you look at what's happening with all the factories, AI, auto plants all over the country being built, that if you would have thought about that 2 or 3 years ago, you would have said it was the opposite. They were all leaving. Now they're all coming in. They're all coming back and then some. And I think that we can honestly say, and I think you're going to see it even more so over the next 12 months, that this is the golden age of America. This is the golden age. I'm pleased to report that today, in 9 months, we've lifted over 600,000 Americans off of food stamps, which is a record. 1.9 million more American-born workers are employed today. Think of that. Almost 2 million American-born workers are employed today, more than when I took office. That's 9 months ago. Can you imagine that? And I tell Republicans, if you want to win elections, you got to talk about these facts. You know, it's really easy to win elections when you talk about the facts. And we have more people working now than at any time in the history of our country. In 9 months, we've lifted over 6. Wages for workers are rising at the fastest pace in over 60 years. Those are workers, and that's what we love. We love the workers. Since I took office, wages for the typical factory worker are up $1,300. Construction workers' pay is up $2,200, and miners are up nearly $5,000 this year alone. Wages for workers are rising at the fastest.
Not bad. Gonna have to do better, though.
I mean, it's possible. We've done a lot. On November 5th, 2024, the American people reclaimed our government. We restored our sovereignty. We lost a little bit of sovereignty last night in New York, but we'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. We rescued our economy, regained our liberty, and together we saved our country. I mean, it's possible. We've done a lot. If you want to see what congressional Democrats wish to do to America, just look at the result of yesterday's election in New York, where their party installed a communist as the mayor of the largest city in the nation. Remember, I've said we will never have a socialist elected to any post in our country. I used to say that, and I was right. We skipped socialist and we put in a communist instead. That didn't work out too well. But as I've warned for many years, our opponents are hell-bent on turning America into a communist Cuba or socialist Venezuela, and you see what happened to those places. For generations, Miami has been a haven for those fleeing communist tyranny in South Africa. I mean, if you take a look at what's going on in parts of South Africa, look at South Africa, what's going on. Look at South America, what's going on. You know, I'm not going to, we have a G20 meeting in South Africa. South Africa shouldn't even be in the Gs anymore because what's happened there is bad. I'm not going. I told them I'm not going. I'm not going to represent our country there. It shouldn't be there. Take a look at what's happening in different parts of South America. Take a look at what's happening in different parts of the world. But now the Democrats are so extreme that Miami will soon be the refuge for those fleeing communism in New York City. They flee. They flee. Where do you live? New York City, but I'm trying to leave because I don't want to live in a communist regime.
Okay.
After last night's results, the decision facing all Americans could not be more clear. We have a choice between communism and common sense. After last night's results, the decision facing all Americans could not be more clear.
Indeed.
They took de Blasio and they took
Tony calls the mayor of Chicago a woman here.
that mayor from Chicago, the woman,
I bet Brandon Johnson's pissed.
the one that gets her hair done very expensively, right? Beautiful hair. She got beautiful, luxuriant hair.
Luxuriant.
took her-
I don't know who he's actually talking about here. But regardless, I bet Brandon Johnson's fucking angry.
And she's teaching at Harvard. They're teaching government. And then you hear about Harvard. We're trying to work a settlement with Harvard right now for about like a lot of money. I won't tell you what, but you'll be reading about it pretty soon. They took de Blasio and they our opponents are offering an economic nightmare. We're delivering an economic miracle. We have delivered in 9 months. This is the biggest investment of funds in a country in history by many times. That's good. They want higher spending for government and illegal aliens. We want bigger paychecks for American workers and American families, and that's what we're delivering. You see that? They stand for crime and chaos and corruption. We stand for law and order and justice. Also strong borders. Boy, do we have strong borders. They put America last. We put America first. We put America first. And as long as I'm in the White House, the United States is not going communist in any way, shape, or form. We'll stop it. We're going to stop it. Stop this nonsense. Our opponents are offering an economic nightmare. We're delivering an economic miracle. We have delivered in 9 months. This is the biggest investment of funds in a country in history by many times. That's good. They want higher spending for.
Oop, that looped.
It's truly a great honor to be here with you this afternoon and to have you here once again in the great city of Miami.
It's mayor of Miami, Francis Suarez.
Your leadership and your vision have shaped not only our nation, but also the future of our city. Miami's success today is rooted in the values that are deeply American: opportunity, freedom, safety, and innovation. These are values that you have championed with conviction, and they are the same values that have made Miami a symbol of what's possible. When people believe in the promise of America, Mr. President, I want to personally thank you for your continued support of our vision for this city. It was an honor to stand beside you in the Oval Office when you announced the next year's G20 right here in the city of Miami. Thank you for choosing our city to host what is perhaps the most important and consequential gathering of leaders from around the world. Miami has come a long way, and we will rise to the occasion, Mr. President. On behalf of the people of Miami, it is my privilege and honor here on behalf of my wife, the America Business Forum, Nacho, Sergio, and everyone to give you like real estate, right?
I do.
Yeah. This is a key that opens some really nice presidential library real estate.
Nice. Okay.
And to curb inflation, we've slashed the size of government for the first time in years, and we're waging total war on waste, fraud, and abuse like we've never done before. Since January, 100,000 bureaucrats have left the federal
That is nothing to sneeze at.
payroll. Government spending
Of course, they'll just hire him right back.
is down 2.5% this quarter compared to 1 year ago. Think of that. And in stark contrast to last administration, 100% of all new jobs created in America under my administration have been created in the private sector. And to curb inflation, we've slashed the size of government for the first time in years, and we're waging total war on waste, fraud, and abuse like we've never done before. Since January, 100,000 bureaucrats.
Oh, we got a dance? Did he dance? Oh, he did. Not bad. Cool. Busted it out for a little bit. Fetterman calling out his own party for freaking out about Trump wanting to nuke the filibuster. He says we all wanted to eliminate the entire filibuster. It was just a couple of years about that. Oh, I mean, they have a thing called the internet. You know, you could just look up and confirm. We all wanted to wreck the filibuster, he said per Fox. We all wanted wreck the filibuster. Direct quote. No idea. He said it.
Do this under his executive authority. John Sowers, my Solicitor General, he is more than prepared. We feel very confident, and this is the most important case.
Bondi on was this Fox and Friends this morning?
In front of the Supreme Court. John Sauer will do a great job. Not only is this about national security, but also our economic security around the world. President Trump just secured one of the greatest trade deals in the history of our country with Asia and other countries. And he has to be able to do that to protect America. And he firmly has the right to do that under the law. John Sauer is going to do a great job. The hearing starts in about an hour. It's probably going to go 3 to 4 hours today. And we're looking forward to it. We're very much looking forward to presenting our case. Scott Bessent will be in there watching, and I believe Jamison Greer also. Yeah.
Oh man, that's right. This is going on in DC today. I wanted to go check this out, but I had the dentist appointment in the afternoon. Oh my gosh, they're dressed in outfits from that show, Handmaid's Tale or whatever. Oh, absurd. Funny thing is, like, that entire show is just like a prolonged, protracted, extended fantasy on the part of people like these women about having high status men basically treat them like objects and you know, use them as walking wombs, which of course they would never admit out loud to fantasizing about, but they even cosplay. I wonder if they wear those outfits during... Well, never mind. Ah, yes, the like the typical crowd. Oh, even got some purple pink hair. Got the cuck soy man. Got a few she-he's. Got all kinds of lumpy dumpies. Even got a unicorn. Eh? The what? The right? The what? What was that about? Incest? Oh, same-sex couples. Creepy.
Conquer territory, maybe, but
there's a brief clip of the Supreme Court's oral arguments today. Neil Gorsuch fighting for President Trump in the Supreme Court for his tariffs to be used under presidential powers. This is a big one. This is crucial. Could like make or break the country, really.
conquer territory.
I say we ought to listen in on this. It's about 5.5 minutes. Let's see.
Maybe, but this is not a wartime or conquered territory statute. This is or a use of the statute. They are tariffing the entire world in peacetime, and they are doing it, asserting a power that no president in our history has ever had. Even Justice Kavanaugh's example of Nixon, really far more limited, didn't blow past Congress's limits, as was said in Yoshida. This is a whole different animal, and maybe Congress has that power, as I agree with Justice Gorsuch. I don't think that it does, but boy, they got to say so really clearly, and here there's nothing like that in the text of AIPA.
Thank you. Justice Gorsuch?
Well, I don't know if I agree with what you say, but at any rate, back to the plain language, and just stick with me for a moment. You know, the Constitution says that Congress gets to regulate commerce, and everybody understood that that meant and included the power to tariff. Story, Madison, okay? So that's sort of a problem, right? Regulate is a capacious verb. And then you've got the otherwise language as well, which we've sort of discussed. And just on the plain language, forget about the backdrop of major. Do you need major questions to win? I kind of think you might.
No, I don't think so. I mean, if we did, I think we'd win for reasons expressed, but I don't think so at all. So, Justice Gorsuch, our position is not that regulate can never mean tax or tariff.
Okay. Okay.
Our brief at page 15 gives you an example. A president may regulate cars coming in to the city, and then if it adds by charging tolls or something like that, absolutely. In context, it does. Here, the context you're referring to, Story and so on, says nothing about this case. That is the constitutional context about Congress's use of power.
But it's part of how we understand language is used, and it's relevant for that purpose. And then when you've got licenses, which are economically the same thing as, would you agree they're basically economically the same thing as tariffs?
Sometimes they can be.
Okay, so you've got something that's economically identical to a tariff, authorized by this statute. So where does that leave you?
So let me,
as a matter of plain
let me take the question in two parts. One is about the word regulate, and the other is about licensing. With respect to the word regulate, when it's used in the constitutional sense, it's very different than the sense in IEPA that my friend is asserting. When we're asserting IEPA, we're talking about a statute that is granting the president massive powers. And so the relevant context that I think you look at in asking the question, what did Congress mean in 1977? The best context, the most natural context is, what does Congress say every time they grant the president such power? And then there's just one other point on this. Constitutions are read totally differently. Story and Madison are talking about the constitutional phrase, and as Chief Justice Marshall said in McCulloch, a constitutional expounding the prolixity of a legal code is the opposite of the way you read the Constitution.
I do follow that argument. Okay. And but what about otherwise again? I just really want to make sure I understand. You say that there's a good reason why the Solicitor General didn't make that argument. I'll be curious to see what he has to say about that. But you know, what's your best reasoning why the otherwise language doesn't?
Because it's only a mechanism to implement the 9 powers, and that licenses sometimes can be revenue raising and sometimes not.
Yeah.
And so
if licenses can be revenue raising, and you can do this otherwise through revenue raising things, why wouldn't that capture tariffs?
So because I think, again, our point to you is that that there's two kinds of licenses come in 2 flavors. If an executive order is asserting a license fee to recoup the cost of government services or something like that, as I was saying to Justice Alito, that doesn't look different than the other verbs. That's not revenue raising. It doesn't implicate the founder's concern. It doesn't implicate the concerns you wrote about in Consumers Research about the fear of the government.
Well, you're not answering my question, though, Mr. Kacha. I'm talking about just the plain text here. And you're moving to major questions or a non-delegate. That's the move you're making, which I think, you know, fine, we can consider that. I'm just talking about on the text, okay? It says by means of licenses or otherwise. You've conceded that licenses are economically equivalent to tariffs. And the statute says by means of licenses or otherwise.
Right.
Regulate.
It's only a means, and we looked at the history.
Yeah, it's a means. Yeah. Why isn't tariffs a permissible means on the statute?
Because, again, it has to be related to the 9 powers that...
Well, a license can be. We have to acknowledge that. And you've said a license can raise revenue, and you've said a license is equivalent to a tariff economically. So what about otherwise?
So, Justice Gorsuch, if the license or the otherwise is raising
Right,
revenue...
sir. Come on, sir.
It is a difference in kind from the other verbs, and we looked at the history of licenses under TWIA, and we were not able to find any involving licenses or license fees.
Okay. Last question, a little further afield. Parties discussed a little bit the analogy to the Foreign Commerce Clause. Of course, next to it is the India.
That's it. That was a good clip. Interesting to listen in on that. Okay, here's some more. A worrying development. U.S. Supreme Court appears very skeptical of President Trump's emergency tariff powers, setting the stage for striking them down.
Through those words, I think you're saying that no, the president doesn't have inherent authority over tariffs in peacetime.
Absolutely. That is, we do not assert that. We say that Congress can delegate that to him, and when Congress does so, as it does when it uses the phrase regulated importation.
I follow all of that. Okay. You emphasize that Congress can always take back its powers. You mentioned that a couple of times. But don't we have a serious retrieval problem here? Because once Congress delegates by a bare majority, and the president signs it. And of course, every president will sign a law that gives him more authority. Congress can't take that back without a supermajority. And even then, it's going to be veto-proof. What president's ever going to give that power back? Pretty rare president. So how should that inform our view of delegations and major questions?
I would look at the balance that Congress struck, because what Congress did initially, it had a 2-house legislative veto.
And we struck that down.
And then Congress went back to the statute and amended it. It took out the legislative veto and left in a joint resolution, but still left the president with all those powers.
That's what Congress did?
Yes.
Fair enough. As a practical matter, in the real world, it can never get that power back.
I disagree, because in January 2023, Congress voted to terminate one of the biggest IEPA emergencies ever, the COVID emergency, and the president went along with that. So what the statute reflects is there's going to be the ability for a sort of political consensus against a declared emergency.
Well, what happens when the president simply vetoes legislation to try to take these powers back?
Well, he has the authority to veto legislation to terminate a national emergency, for example. I mean, he retains the powers in the background because IEPA is still on the books. But if he declares an emergency and Congress doesn't like it and passes a joint resolution, yes, he can absolutely veto that.
Yeah, so Congress, as a practical matter, can't get this power back once it's handed it over to the president. It's a one-way ratchet toward the gradual but continual accretion of power in the executive branch and away from the people's elected representatives.
I disagree with that, and the recent historical counterexample of Congress's termination of the COVID emergency demonstrates that the political oversight
with the president's assent.
Meaningful.
Okay. Interesting. And I don't know.
Mr. Katyal referred to common sense several times, and I want to pick up on Justice Barrett's question, because your interpretation of the statute, as she pointed out, would allow the president to shut down all trade with every other country in the world, or to impose some significant quota on imports from every other country in the world, but would not allow a 1% tariff. And that leaves, in the government's words in its brief, an odd donut hole in the statute. Why would a rational Congress say, yeah, we're going to give the president the power to shut down trade? I mean, think about the effects. But you're admitting that power's in there. Yeah. But can't do a 1% tariff. That doesn't seem, but I want to get your answer, to have a lot of common sense behind it.
I think it absolutely does, because it's a fundamentally different power. It's not a donut hole. It's a different kind of pastry.
And on that power.
Seriously, we're doing pastry analogies in the Supreme Court, you idiot.
That's a good one. On that power, though, and you've said this many times, and Mr. Katyal too, and look, I get this, obviously, but the court has repeatedly said a tariff on foreign imports is an exercise of the commerce power, not of the taxation power. And I'm repeating but John Marshall said that, and Joseph Story, and Chief Justice Hughes in the 1933 case, and we've said that quite a bit of time, which seems to at least undermine a bit your point that it's an entirely different power, because if it is foreign commerce power, it's the same power that Justice Barrett was talking about of just embargoing trade with the entire world.
You're right.
Which you admit is in this statute.
Well, there are a couple of points in there, and I'll try to get to all of them, but I mean, I think all of us agree that context is what matters here, and that you certainly could use the word regulate to talk about a tariffing power, like you could use it to talk about a taxing power. I mean, we impose taxes for regulatory purposes as well. But the federal government hasn't identified a single other federal statute that uses the term regulate to authorize tariffs or taxes. That is just a different kind of power.
And I thought your point in response to Justice Kavanaugh, it's a different kind of power because the power that's being authorized by this statute is the power to control or freeze trade. That's what Congress was getting at. And so if that's true, then we have to read regulate in that context.
That's exactly right. And I think the reason, getting back to common sense as to why a legislature might authorize that, is that you might not fear abuse of that power in the same way that you would be concerned about abuse of a power to impose unlimited taxes with sort of no controlling.
Well, why is that? Because, I mean, there is a sort of commonsensical intuition that one is, in Justice Kavanaugh's example, that one is greater and one is lesser. So why is that not right? Because, to be blunt about it, there's nothing, one of them there's something in it for the government and one of them there isn't. Actions that bring in revenue from the pockets of taxpayers to the Treasury pose a different set of concerns. Our framers were very concerned about that. A different set of concerns, how, why? Because they bring in revenue. And because that creates well, that seems a little tautological. Like, why is it that the revenue raisers are in a different category? Because if there is some sort of international emergency and the appropriate way to deal with it is to make sure that no more than 1,000 of this product comes into this country at a particular time, this statute gives the president the power to ensure that exactly no more than 1,000 come in at this time. Setting a tariff doesn't ensure that only 1,000 will come into this country. It cedes control over whether the transaction occurs, and what it does is it then adds revenue to the Treasury, and that is again something that our framers thought was extremely important and a core Article 1.
But Algonquin, I mean, this kind of goes back to Justice Kavanaugh's point. Algonquin rejects the idea that it was impermissible to use the fees, and we can call them, license fees that functioned as tariffs or duties in that case, whatever. But Algonquin said that Congress could use the exaction of money to control quantity. And I hear what you're saying is like, well, you can control quantity by numbers by imposing hard limits, but not by money. But that's not what Algonquin said. So I guess. Oh no. Why?
Well, and I don't mean to suggest that you can't use exactions to control quantity. What I think Algonquin just shows the importance of context. Mm-hmm. It might be perfectly natural to read a phrase like "adjust imports" in the context of a statute that talks about tariffs, in the context of the Trade Expansion Act that has all sorts of provisions about tariffs and about the president adjusting tariff rates. It might be perfectly natural in that context to read a phrase like adjust the imports to be referring to changing tariff rates. It's just as unnatural to read a phrase like regulate importation to discuss that when the statute has nothing to do with tariffs and doesn't otherwise mention tariffs at all.
And I think imposing tariffs is do you think that just blocking all trade is a bigger deal than imposing a 1% tariff across the board?
I think it would be a huge deal. It is just a different kind of deal.
Algonquin was not a constitutional case, right?
Correct.
It was a statutory interpretation case.
Correct.
And so the question there was simply, was Congress actually trying to give, or did Congress in that statute give the president the authority to impose these kinds of exactions? And the court looked at the text, and it looked at the legislative history in which there was a number of clues that Congress had actually intended to do that.
Yes, right? Yes, and it looked not just at the text of those specific words, but also the context of what else was in the statute and the fact that some of the factors that the president was supposed to be considering.
Keep going.
And it would make perfect sense, I think, in a time of emergency for many of the reasons that General Sauer pointed out, that Congress would want the president to have the kind of authority that is imposed when you are embargoing things, when you are stopping the trade, when you are saying, for emergency reasons, we're not letting any of this product come in. I mean, sure, that's a big deal, but the nature of it makes sense in terms of an emergency. I think what you're saying is that the idea that the government would use its authority to be raising revenues in this situation is a different kind of power.
Exactly. This is a statute about giving the president control over assets, over transactions, over access to banking.
And tariffs don't do that. You said something about
exactly
tariffs in fact cede control over those sorts of things. So they sort of undermine the goals and the purposes of this kind of statute. Is that right?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Can I ask you?
Another brief clip here.
exercise.
Did any president
with Ketanji
under TWIA, did any president under TWIA use that language to impose tariffs?
Well, yes, President Nixon's 1971
Not a tariff.
Visibly,
that wasn't a tariff. It was a licensing agreement during wartime. It was a specific thing. A tariff I'm talking about.
I'm referring to President Nixon's 1971 tariff.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. Yes, I thought you meant Lincoln.
And not only that, but then it was upheld by the Court of Appeals with exclusive jurisdiction under this very phrase.
Can I back you up just a second? I'm sorry. You're talking so quickly.
What?
Exercise.
What do you need him to like talk at a, I don't know, a third grade special ed case? Would that be preferable, or
any president?
Good Lord. Barrett asks about refunding tariff revenue if the Trump admin loses the case. That would be a train wreck.
And then if you win, tell me how the reimbursement process would work. Would it be a complete mess? I mean, you're saying before the government promised reimbursement, and now you're saying, you know, oh, well, that's rich, but how would this work? It seems to me like it could be a mess.
So the first thing I'd say is that just underscores just how major a question this is. The very fact that you were dealing with this with quotas, there's no refund process to the tunes of billions of dollars or embargoes, but there is here. But for our case, the way it would work is, in this case, the government stipulated for the 5 plaintiffs that they would get the refunds. So for us, that's how it would work. Your question, I take it, is about everyone else, where you don't have a class action or anything like that. With respect to everyone else, there's a whole specialized body of trade law, and it's in 19 U.S.C. 1514 outlines all these administrative procedures. It's a very complicated thing. There's got to be an administrative protest. There was a harbor management case earlier that this court was involved with in the United States Shoe, in which, you know, the refund process took a long time. There were any number of claims and equitable relief.
So a mess.
So it's difficult, absolutely. We don't deny that it's difficult, but I think what this court has said in the McKesson case in 1990 is that serious economic dislocation isn't a reason to do something. Northern Pipeline, you guys stayed your decision for a while in order to let the congressional process unfold. There may be a congressional process here as well. You may be able to also be that this court could limit its decision to prospective relief under the John Q. Hammonds case. So there's lots of possibilities.
Justice Kavanaugh asks about why the president may not be able to issue tariffs but can set trade embargoes, which sets off a debate among the justices and a series of questions about presidential power.
Mr. Katyal referred to common sense several times, and I want to pick up on Justice Barrett's question because your interpretation of the statute, as she pointed out, would allow the president to shut down all trade with every other country in the world or to impose some significant quota on imports from every other country in the world, but would not allow a 1% tariff. And that leaves, in the government's words in its brief, an odd donut hole in the statute. Why would a rational Congress say, yeah, we're going to give the president the power to shut down trade? I mean, think about the effects, but you're admitting that power's in there. Yeah. But can't do a 1% tariff. That doesn't seem, but I want to get your answer, to have a lot of common sense behind it.
I think it absolutely does because it's a fundamentally different power. It's not a donut hole. It's a different kind of pastry.
And on that power,
this is the freaking pastry bit. I think we already heard portions of that. We'll skip that. We just presented our case at the U.S. Supreme Court. AG Dan Rayfield on the tariffs.
Hey everyone, Dan Rayfield, Oregon's Attorney General.
Yeah, that guy.
Coming to you live on a very windy day here in Washington, D.C., outside the United States Supreme Court, where our amazing Solicitor General Ben Gutman argued the case on behalf of all of the states. The tariffs right now, as imposed by Donald Trump.
Oh, good Lord. Nope, not doing it.
Is there a deal that can be made to end this government shutdown in your mind?
Well, I think the Democrats have become radicalized. I think, this never happened before. They always extend. An extension is very easy. it's done all the time. You extend, sometimes you extend 4 or 5 times. I mean, they become radicalized lunatics, actually, in a true sense. They should automatically extend, and we will make a deal as soon as they do. As soon as they do, we'll make a deal.
Is there a deal that can be made to end?
Eventually, they'll do it. Now this, I meant to tag this clip myself today, but this is definitely a troubling thing to hear from John Solomon.
And yesterday, to give you a sense of where our
Something to pay attention to.
Attorney General is, she did an Epstein Documents 2.0 on all of us. She did it. She put out this tweet, got a lot of traffic, great Fox News story. Oh my God, guess what I discovered? I discovered that Joe Biden gave up Donald Trump's phone and Mike Pence's phone to Jack Smith. That's great, Madam Attorney General, except that story came out in April. She wasn't even aware that that wasn't a new development, but an old development that had been discussed by Senators Grassley and Johnson for months. If you want to fix the perp walk problem, if you want to fix the opportunity to bring accountability, Kash Patel has the evidence. The prosecutors, with the exception of Halligan, are lagging far behind the evidence, and that sand clock is ticking down not only on statute of limitations, but on the time that occurs in between elections. 26 elections already underway. We're missing really valuable time to educate the public. The American people are missing valuable time. I don't think DOJ is getting there. When you see that there was a 6-month delay in this document, when you see the Attorney General presenting something new that is old, she's so far behind the facts, I'm really worried that Donald Trump doesn't have the team that can bring accountability to Justice Department. That's just my reporting, and by the way, that's what many Justice Department and members of Congress have been saying to me privately over the last 4 weeks.
Definitely troubling. Chuck Schumer had yet to arrive for his briefing, so Bernie Sanders stepped up to the podium in his place and started fielding questions. Interesting. The Democratic Socialists are just taking over the party, I guess. Oh my God.
But I think there was a... That's a good sign. I agree with it.
What are your takeaways from
My takeaways is there are many reasons why people win an election and lose an election. What happens in Virginia, or New Jersey, and New York City, it's different. But I think there was a common theme last night, and that is people all over this country are rejecting Trumpism. They understand that it is a horrific situation when 20+ million people are going to see a doubling, or in some cases a tripling, in the healthcare premiums when they can't afford it. When 15 million people are going to be thrown off of their healthcare because of massive cuts to Medicaid, and according to studies, and it's important to understand this, I say this all the time, but I really want to get it through to you. Studies indicate when you throw 15 million low-income and working-class people off the healthcare they have, 50,000 of them will die unnecessarily every year. 50,000 fellow Americans, low-income, working-class people, all to give $1 trillion in tax breaks to Elon Musk, billionaires, and the 1%. So I think that there are a lot of reasons for the Democrats' success last night in New York and elsewhere. That is one of the reasons, and I think what
Oh yeah, you got that right, but he's not telling people the real reasons.
people want is that the Democrats stand up and continue to fight.
I think we all know why they why those numbers are so out of whack.
So I think that one of the reasons, of many, that the Democrats had so much success is an appreciation the Democrats are trying to protect health care for the American people. Now, I know that there is some discussion about bipartisan negotiations. And I want to be very clear. If these negotiations say that we're going to pass legislation that will extend the credits, tax credits for the Affordable Care Act, count me in, that's great. But there has to be a commitment that the Speaker of the House is on board. There has to be a commitment that the President of the United States is prepared to sign the bill. Bottom line is, we need to be successful in protecting the health care of the American people. And if it's just a piece of legislation that passes the Senate with either 50 votes or 60 votes, So what? Where does it go? Then it becomes just a meaningless gesture. You can go home, well, I voted for a piece. That's good. But the real truth is, will we protect the health care of the American people? That is what this whole shutdown is. Yes, sir.
Oh, this is nuts.
Sharia law starts now. Absolutely. Zohran Mamdani, Islamic Caliphate, or Brotherhood Islam, Islamic Caliphate of New York starts today, baby.
God, there is just something so electric, so satisfying about knowing that my MAGA parents, wherever they are probably having
So disturbing.
a horrible night tonight. Oh, I literally just got goosebumps thinking about it. Like they are in such a bad mood probably about the fact that Zohran just won and Prop 50 is gonna pass. Like, wow. God, I'm sorry. It just makes me feel good that my MAGA parents are probably upset right now.
When the day starts with Dick Cheney being dead, it ends with Mamdani winning. Oh, yes. Oh. I'm so happy. Oh my God, I'm so happy. Sharia law starts now. Absolutely. Zohran Mamdani.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Eat the rich. Did you eat them?
More from DC.
Did you eat the rich? How'd it taste?
Stale.
How'd it taste?
Stale.
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 Who would be your favorite rich person to eat?
My favorite rich person to eat? Probably Elon Musk.
Oh, this is crazy. This.
You think he's a negative for society, Elon Musk?
Yeah.
Who else we got? Any other crazies or just this one? No, just the Eat the Rich girl. Yeah. Ooh, okay, from O'Keefe. Let's see. Hidden on caught on hidden camera, pardon me. California Democrat Party insider admits to intentional gerrymandering. Duh. And reveals a strategy for Newsom to funnel Prop 50 donations into a 2028 presidential war chest. Yep. This is like dang near 10 minutes long, and imagine we got other stuff to get to here, so we'll just watch the intro real quick.
So is he gonna run for governor? Newsom. I mean, for president.
I'm skeptical of a Democrat from San Francisco running for president. He seems very left-wing, which is why he's doing things like saying trans girls should not be competing in sports. He's trying to appeal, makes it look like he's not so bad.
So is he like fundraising for it and stuff like that?
He doesn't need committees open right now, but that doesn't mean he can't open a committee later and transfer money.
Okay, so is he fundraising for anything right now?
For the ballot initiative Prop 50. We're very intentionally gerrymandering.
So, okay, so if there's any money left over from that and he decides to run for president, he can transfer it.
He can transfer to half and yeah.
And is that legal? It is. Wow.
Nothing I dislike more than the politician that sits there and lies to you.
What a stunning thing for him to say, man. Zero self-awareness whatsoever. All of these people.
Governor Gavin Newsom.
Senator Schumer, I guess, now got out of bed, rolled out of bed, and did end up giving remarks later on the floor.
Last night was a great night for America.
Ugh.
And a 5-alarm fire for Donald Trump and Republicans. The Republicans' high-cost House is on fire, and they've only got themselves to blame. As loudly and clearly as they could have, the American people said last night, enough is enough.
Jack Hole, man.
Enough with Donald Trump's tariffs, which are overwhelmingly being paid for by working people and small businesses. Enough with Republicans' relentless attack on health care, where people are seeing their premiums go up by thousands of dollars, even each month, and they may have to be without health care altogether. Last night was a sign that if Republicans continue with their failed policies, their majorities are at risk, including here in this Senate chamber. The election showed that Democratic control of the Senate is much closer than people and prognosticators realize. So let me say it again. Republicans' high-cost House is on fire, and they've only got themselves to blame. And by the way, that's not just my opinion, it's Donald Trump's opinion. Last night, he said that the shutdown is a negative factor for the Republicans. When addressing why he had lost, this is what Trump said. The shutdown was a big factor, negative for Republicans. And let me read what Trump said last night. He said, this is Donald Trump speaking, Trump wasn't on the ballot, and the shutdown were the two reasons Republicans lost elections tonight. That's what Trump said. Trump admits that the Republican shutdown is hurting him and his party. The president is right. Americans realize Republicans are responsible for this awful shutdown, now the longest officially in history. What a shameless milestone. Donald Trump has now presided over the longest and second longest shutdowns ever, and he only has himself to blame. When Leader Jeffries and I met with Donald Trump in the Oval Office last month, we warned him that this would happen. We warned the president of the consequences of ignoring Democrats, ignoring the American people, ignoring the health care crisis. We warned the president that ignoring Democrats and insisting on zero negotiations was a recipe for disaster and would come back to haunt him. Well, Republicans shouldn't ignore us anymore, for their own good and the country's good. So this morning, Leader Jeffries and I once again demanded a meeting with the president. It's time to sit down and negotiate with Democrats to bring this Republican shutdown to an end, we told the president. We've been asking for a meeting for weeks and even months. But now the election results ought to send a much-needed bolt of lightning to Donald Trump that he should meet with us to end this crisis, his shutdown, which he admits hurt him badly in the election. It's time to hold a bipartisan meeting of legislative leaders to reopen the government. It's time to fix the ACA premium emergency that is now upon us, and Democrats are ready to meet anytime, anywhere, any place. Donald Trump ignores us at his own political peril, because the takeaway from last night was simply unmistakable. Democrats swept in states last night across the country, red and blue alike. Democrats won overwhelmingly by more than anyone ever thought in New Jersey and Virginia. Democrats won in Mississippi and won in New York, in Pennsylvania, and in Georgia. Democrats won in statewide races, but it went deeper than that. We won in lots of local races, too. Mayoral races, state Supreme Court races, ballot measures, and even historic swings in the Georgia Public Service Commission, where 2 Democrats were elected. Statewide, I believe. Why did Democrats do so well? Because Americans are fed up with Republicans shooting their costs through the roof, particularly on health care, on tariffs, on their electric bills. And Americans saw that Democrats are the ones fighting for them, fighting for lower health care costs.
That's hilarious.
Fighting for working families. And while all this is happening, what is Donald Trump doing? Depriving hungry Americans of their SNAP benefits?
What?
Telling children, hungry children, we're going to cut off your food and use you as a pawn in this shutdown which the Republicans have caused? Telling the elderly who depend on that SNAP money to adequately feed themselves? The heck with you? Telling a veteran who has PTSD or a worker who is unemployed that we're not going to give you food? How callous, how cruel, how mean, how vindictive, and how calculatingly wrong. Americans saw the contrast between Democrats and Republicans in full effect last night. They saw that Trump is treating Americans, particularly needy Americans, as political pawns during the shutdown. One end of the country to the other, including battleground states, Democrats, independents, and even Republicans, rejected Donald Trump's policies and rejected hard right elected officials. And let me say something else. After last night, Donald Trump ought to learn that his petty vindictiveness doesn't work. Here's one glaring example. He tried to axe federal funding for the Gateway Tunnel between New York and New Jersey, the biggest public works project in the country, employing tens of thousands of workers and ensuring continued prosperity and good transportation in the entire Northeast corridor. But he axed the funds, and he's axing the funds was aimed, in his mind, at Democratic leaders like Leader Jeffries and me. In the end, it totally backfired and became a big factor for voters making their decisions in New Jersey and electing Mikey Sherrill by an amazing 13 percentage points. And one of the main issues in that campaign was Donald Trump's vindictiveness in cutting off this tunnel and trying to use it, again, and all the workers, as a hostage. So again, let me say it again. Last night serves as a 5-alarm fire for Republicans, a warning from the American people. They're tired of Donald Trump raising people's costs, raising health care costs, ignoring the needs of working people. The right way forward for Republicans and for all of America is to negotiate with Democrats to reopen the government and extend the ACA premium tax credits. The American people have spoken. Enough is enough.
Okay. In shock.
Where can we register to become part of Antifa?
Yeah, there was some idiot out with an official Antifa registration booth.
Benefits of joining Antifa. You don't have to pretend to be sad when terror people... Look right here, it says the benefits of joining Antifa. You don't have to pretend to be sad when terrible people die. You get to engage with people who may not agree with you on everything, but still have human decency outside of...
Oh, that's cute.
Washington Monument. You have an official Antifa registration.
Insane.
Despite the 15 opportunities they have now had to reopen the government, they have voted 15 times to keep it closed. That is the number that everyone has to pay attention to, all the Americans who are hurting because of this. They need to understand Republicans have voted 15 times to open your government, and the Democrats have voted 15 times to close it. They voted to deny paychecks to workers, to stop the flow of SNAP funds to hungry families, and all the rest. And still, somehow, they have the audacity to go on national television and gaslight the American people and try to pretend that somehow the Republican Party has some blame in this. It's the most outrageous example of political gaslighting that we have ever seen. Despite the 15 opportunities they have now had to reopen the government.
Yep. Okay, Scott Bessent, after listening to the arguments at the Supreme Court.
Larry, I came away very optimistic. The Solicitor General presented a strong case for the president's use of the IEEPA, the emergency tariff powers that President Trump has used to balance trade, to negotiate with the Chinese on fentanyl, to secure rare earth magnets, to get the Indians to stop buying Russian oil. And the Solicitor General made a fantastic case that the purpose of the tariffs is to rebalance global trade. We were in an economic emergency. We were near a tipping point, and you and I know exactly what that looks like. And President Trump has brought the U.S. back. On the other side, I thought that the plaintiffs almost embarrassed themselves. They clearly didn't understand foundational economics. They didn't understand the trade policy they were talking about. And I'm very optimistic after listening to the questions at SCOTUS that the IEPA ruling is going to come President Trump and this administration's way.
Let's hope so. We shall see. I knew from Chairman Chuck Grassley, House Judiciary Chair Jim Jordan, calling on Chief Justice Roberts to address activist judges' political outbursts to the press. Wouldn't that be nice? Senator John Kennedy said he's bringing 2 shutdown-related bills to withhold congressional paychecks.
President, I'm going to be
He believes we're going to be in a shutdown a while longer. Wow. No kidding.
uncharacteristically brief. Tomorrow I will be bringing 2 bills before the Senate. They both have to do with the shutdown and congressional pay. The first bill is the No Shutdown Paychecks Act. The second bill is the Withhold Member Pay During Shutdowns Act. The first bill would provide that as long as we're shut down, and I'll explain why in a moment, as long as we're shut down, no member of Congress can be paid. And the money will not be reimbursed at a later date or repaid at a later date. The second bill, to address any 27th Amendment concerns, will say during the shutdown, members of Congress will not receive their pay, but their pay will be escrowed and they will receive it after the government is opened back up. Well, we're in day 36. Like you, Mr. President, I've heard a lot of rumors about we're that close to reaching an agreement. We've been that close for a week. Frankly, I hope I'm wrong in saying this, but I don't think we're really that close. I wish we were, and I hope we are. But I think we're going to be in the shutdown a while longer. That doesn't give me any joy to say that. In the meantime, none of our staffs are being paid. No federal employees are being paid. I got some numbers in this morning that federal workers have had to borrow $365 million so far during this 36-day shutdown in order just to pay their rent. Our military is only being paid partially. Our air traffic controllers are not being paid. People who receive SNAP payments are only being partially paid. I don't think anybody wants to see anybody go hungry in America, and that's not a partisan statement. I think that's a bipartisan statement.
You would think.
There's precedent for this, Mr. President. Some may say, well, this violates the 27th Amendment. I don't think it does. That's why I'm offering 2 different flavors of bills. But in 2013, President Obama did the same thing that I'm doing now. They were in a shutdown, and President Obama supported legislation that said, if you don't open up government by this certain date, then you're going to lose your paychecks. And guess what? Members of Congress had an epiphany, and they found religion. They had a Damascene moment, and they opened up government. And that's all this bill will do. I'm not trying to grandstand. I wasn't going to bring this bill. When I got back here Monday, I heard all the rumors like everybody else that we were close. And I hope we are close, but we're not close enough. And so I'll offer these bills tomorrow, and people can vote yay or they can vote nay, but what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
All right. Generally like Kennedy. ICE is arresting an illegal aliens, Spanish daycare teachers in Chicago, of which I'm sure there are many. Oh my gosh. Look at this. Flopping around.
I anticipate there will be additional disruptions. There will be frustration. We are working with the airlines. They're going to work with passengers. But in the end, our sole role is to make sure that we keep this airspace as safe as possible. The administrator is going to talk about all of the tools we're going to deploy. One of them, though, is going to be that there is going to be a 10% reduction in capacity at 40 of our locations. The administrator is going to tell you that this is data-based. This is not based on what airline travels, has more flights out of what location. This is about where is the pressure and how do we alleviate the pressure. I anticipate there will be additional disruption.
Okay. Flight capacity. Unfortunate. They're outside Supreme Court in D.C. Of course, trying to pressure them. Intimidate.
People, are you able to lift it higher, or is that as high as it goes? Okay, maybe some people can help those with the banner. They've been carrying it all day. Some fresh hands help them hold it high. People fill in behind the handmaids, all the way behind the handmaids. Pack it in, all of us. Here we go. It's okay. We are here in front of this institution that Donald Trump illegitimately packed with fascist judges. These judges who waved flags in front of their homes.
What's the water?
In their sympathies with the January 6th insurrections.
Oh my gosh.
Dominant Supreme Court, it is very appropriate that we have these beautiful handmaids standing in front of this court.
Handmade.
The people would impeach if you could move to one side or the other so that Trump must go as well as impeach. I think Trump must go. You guys got to bring the banner closer. I was wrong. Bring it forward.
Okay. Let's see here. Parents began planning to take their kids out of New York City schools minutes after Mamdani's mayoral win. Imagine they're probably considering leaving the state, at least the city, if not the state.
We were out there with Border Patrol under Operation Midway Blitz on what they call an at-large
News Nation.
operation. So we're talking about going to those big box stores like Home Depot. These situations often draw pretty big crowds out here as well. And so what we witnessed here is 3 individuals were taken into custody by Border Patrol in a northwest suburb of Chicago. This was in Mount Prospect. Shortly after that, they arrested 2 more individuals. Border Patrol says were not in the U.S. legally. Now, when all was said and done, 7 individuals were arrested here in these operations. And we watched as agents gave warnings to activists and were able to defuse situations without being forced to use those lethal munitions like tear gas. During several different instances, agents were surrounded by anti-immigration activists. You can see the bullhorns there. You can see people surrounding them. Chief Bovino did join the team that we were riding along with. Here's what he said regarding allegations of racial profiling. Take a listen.
Those allegations are patently false. We're looking for Title VIII violators. And when I walk up to the car, I don't know who's in the car. I know nothing about their race, color, creed, religion, sex, or anything else. What I'm looking for is that Title VIII. We've arrested illegal aliens from over 30 different countries. Just in the past few weeks here at Operation Midway Blitz, those countries include places like Russia, Tajikistan, Poland, Austria, Korea, China, and many, many others from around the globe.
And you probably noticed on his uniform there that body camera that is new to him because that was by a judge's order there that he's now wearing it. He showed it off to us, that he's eager to show the public what he is experiencing. Now, as we mentioned here, we know that at least 3,000, we're looking at nearly 4,000 at this point based on how many arrests that they've made since Operation Midway Blitz was really put into place in early September. So they're going to continue going out there. They continue to get these death threats, though, Nicole. What was interesting is Gregory Bovino telling me yesterday that the threats against him have even ramped up. He's getting more and more of those violent death threats. DHS is reporting.
I bet they're getting Bolder and bolder. Meet Spencer Sapienza from New Jersey. Sent me a pay request on Venmo demanding I pay him for being a Nazi. Same individual posted multiple threats against government officials, including Secretary Rubio and Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons, telling them to kill themselves. A lot of these types out there. Nuts. NVIDIA's Jensen Huang says China will win AI race with the US. Good God. That's not good. Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell did their part to get Marxist Mamdani elected. Of course they did. All right, where were we here? Down to like the last 5 minutes. Okay. DHS sources tell Fox News the woman arrested by ICE agents at the daycare that we saw earlier in Chicago is a Colombian illegal alien who was caught and released at the border by the Biden admin in 2023, and her kids were smuggled into the U.S. last month after illegally entering near El Paso, Texas. Wow. Children were then placed in a UAC shelter, unaccompanied alien child in the Chicago area. Well, bye-bye. Back you go.
Oh, he's running. Pull it out.
Heritage Foundation's Robert Rector has a meltdown on Heritage President Kevin Roberts for his video defending Tucker Carlson. Really? Oh, weird.
The boundaries...
Infighting at Heritage?
Because if you don't have boundaries on who you regard inside the movement will destroy itself, and it will create a PR nightmare for everybody in it. And the boundaries that he set forth, William Buckley, in early 1960s were twofold. You have to expunge all anti-Semitism, all of it. But that's just part of it from the conservative movement. The other is you have to expel the lunatics. Okay? The lunatics who think that Eisenhower was a communist, okay? And a whole bunch of, and we have them back now, okay? They are both here back just the way they were in 1959. And we have to go back and set the general parameters. You say, oh, we don't cancel. We do cancel. Did we cancel David Duke? Yes. You don't even know who David Duke was, probably most of you. I'd say, you know? Yes. Did we cancel the John Birch Society? Yes. Okay? Because they were harmful. Because if they're in your movement, you look like clowns. Okay? And the issue here is Tucker Carlson. And I think, Mr. President, you don't understand the post-Fox Tucker Carlson. If you're not watching the interview with Daryl Cooper or Nick Fuentes, if you don't watch Nick Fuentes online, you don't know what's going on here. Okay? Who's Daryl Cooper? Well, you need to know who Daryl Cooper is.
Well, I talked to Tucker about Daryl Cooper last year.
Okay. Well, a lot like Eisenhower being a communist there. Whole lot. Okay? So with Tucker, you have both of these things. Tucker's show is like stepping into a lunatic asylum. This is Tucker, Daryl Cooper, Tucker, Nick Fuentes, and we'll talk about, he's not having Nick Fuentes on the line, he's promoting him, okay? And Candace Owens, so forth, okay? So if you have someone inside the conservative movement who literally says that, oh my goodness, you know, Hitler really didn't want World War II. He was kind of a peaceful guy. It was Winston Churchill that caused this whole thing. My God. Eisenhower's a communist, okay? If someone is that nutty, and I know you're too young to care about, I'm a boomer. World War II is a big thing to me, but my God, if you could be that wrong about the World War II, you are wrong about everything on planet Earth. Okay?
Whoa. That's a bit much.
And then Nick Fuentes, okay? This guy is a neo-Nazi. He adores Hitler.
Fuentes is a clown show.
He says he was a effing cool guy, okay? Do we want him in the conservative movement? Do we want people that are adjacent to him?
No, but if he votes the same way we do, what are we going to do about it? We don't have to, like, state to the world that he's one of our people and we love him and we agree with him. Like, this whole freaking spat over all this nonsense about including or not is just absurd to me. What's the problem here? That what? Undesirable people happen to vote the same way we do and run in some of the same circles and talk to each other? Like, what? I don't know what people are, like, what these people are hoping to solve with this. Tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern, Trump speaks with Brett Baer on Fox News. So that will be, clips will be coming out about that here in the next couple hours. Martha Plimpton voted Mamdani and then flew to Oregon to post a photo of herself at her house on the coast. How many more Mamdani voters do we have in Oregon? Good question. How long does she live there out of the year? Is she registered to vote in Oregon too? Man voting in New York City yesterday tried to show his ID for identification. They refused to accept it, saying they had to follow the manual.
So you don't want my ID? How do you know it's me then?
We can look up by menu.
I could just give you a fake name.
We can give you a by menu.
Signature, we check signatures.
Yeah, you're not,
So if you don't check,
you're not supposed to give your ID.
if you don't check ID, how you gonna know this is our signature?
Manual entry. No worries.
We have the signature on file.
Manual entry.
Show him when he signs.
Unreal.
First three letters of your last name?
You got it, right?
First three letters of your last name?
Yeah, I gave you my ID. Why don't
I
you
know,
use it?
but just first three letters of your last name, sir.
Shit, you guys making this difficult.
Unbelievable.
Is he giving you his ID to look at?
No, yeah, I gave it to him.
Okay,
so you can
give it
use
to him.
So you
Give
can
it. We're
use
not supposed to ask for it.
But I'm giving it to
I
you
know.
so that it's easy
You're
for you to.
absolutely right. You're absolutely
Because
right.
I could be somebody who's just pretending to be somebody.
You're absolutely right.
I don't think you want me to pretend.
We're not supposed to ask.
It
We're
doesn't
not supposed
matter.
to ask for that.
How do you know it's the right person?
We have a signature on file.
I get it, but if I'm giving you my ID, it's so that you can verify for sure it's me.
I found him by his date of birth.
Who? Oh, you found him?
Yeah, by his date of birth.
I was on that table. I'm here now with this gentleman.
Start over. Go to manual entry. Put in his birthday. That's how I found him.
Put in his date of birth.
trying to make it easy for you guys.
I understand.
I don't care what you were told. I'm making it easy for you guys.
Yes.
I'm giving you guys my
If
ID.
you
So
put it in front of my face, I'm gonna
I'm not
take
gonna.
it.
Obviously, I'm not gonna do that. I'm telling you. Do you need my ID? Here's my ID. Take it. Use it. That's what it's for. Identification. To identify who I am, if I'm the right person or not.
No, I'm sorry. I think that you want 14.
Wow.
Here's some tea for you.
Oh gosh.
MTG, people are like, oh my God, she's saying all these things. Like, what's gotten into her lately? Oh, like she's bucking against Trump. She's bucking against the administration. Marjorie Taylor Greene wanted to run for Senate in Georgia. She wanted to run for Senate earlier this year in the state of Georgia. She wanted to be the Republican nominee for Senate. So she was gearing up for that statewide race, and Trump told her no. Trump said no. And the White House and Trump land shut down Marjorie Taylor Greene's personal ambitions to run for Senate. And she has been on a revenge tour ever since.
She's not wrong about that. That definitely seems to be the case, yeah.
The election is over.
Oh, now Adam Schiff, oh great, admits that he and Senate Democrats are keeping government shut down to get free healthcare for illegals.
But the Congress is
Really?
still not working. Democrats and Republicans still not talking. At this point, I mean, now there's a Democratic governor in Virginia where a lot of people are being hurt by this shutdown. Are you comfortable continuing to hold out on reopening the government for even longer than this point? Do you think that that is the right strategy for Democrats if Republicans don't commit to changes on the ACA subsidies?
I think Democrats need to keep fighting to preserve access to health care. And right now, millions are about to be separated from their health care because they can't afford their policies, thanks to what Donald Trump and the Republicans have done. Those notices are going out. People are checking online to see what they're going to have to pay. For a great many millions of Americans, they're going to have to pay double. That's unsustainable. So I think Democrats need to continue to fight for health care and make sure that those costs are brought down. The president campaigned on bringing down costs. They've done nothing but skyrocket. The president on his social media tonight acknowledged that the shutdown is part of the reason Republicans are losing. And it makes sense. They're controlling everything. They control the White House, the House, the Senate. They've been unwilling to negotiate with Democrats. And so I think we need to hold firm, demand changes that make healthcare affordable for people. I want to see the government reopen, but I also want to see people be able to afford their insurance. And it shouldn't be too much to ask in the wealthiest country in the world that we be able to do both, that we have both a functioning government, but also that we have accessible health care for people.
My broker already knows that I won't go to New York City. I hope other truck drivers do the same. Really?
The one true God, Allah, the God of Abraham, Takbir! Over 1 million people pass through this. Thousands, hundreds of different countries come through over here. Different languages, different ethnicities, different religions. And our job is to teach the world about the Quran. So we gave out
Picking up in New York City.
at least 1,000 Qur'ans tonight. Fully gone. This is the last Qur'an that we have.
Our goal is the same, and that is to spread Islam. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. سمع الله لمن حمده ربنا ولك الحمد. الله أكبر. الله.
Wow. Times Square. Jeffrey Epstein claimed prosecutors offered his freedom if he agreed to implicate Donald Trump, according to cellmate, former cop. It's like, yeah, Tartaglione, freaking jacked, huge, scary looking guy, who was awaiting trial before being convicted on a quadruple murder charge. Tartaglia now claims that Epstein, who died a month after being arrested, told him that prosecutors had offered to cut a deal if he'd snitch on President Trump, who was then in his first term. Wow. Prosecutors told Epstein that if he said President Trump was involved with Epstein's crimes, he would walk free in a petition to be pardoned. Epstein told me that lead prosecutor Maureen Comey said that he didn't have to prove anything as long as President Trump's people could not disprove it. According to Maureen Comey, the FBI were her people, not his. Wow. If there's any truth to that. Oh, there's Tartaglia. Look at him. Tartaglia added in his petition that Epstein told him President Trump was not involved in Epstein's crimes. Interesting. The Maureen. All right. There we go. Last few here. Steve Baker with Glenn Beck.
I think
uncovering.
I think it is the biggest scandal of my lifetime. There is a major development in the
the pipe bomb. Absolutely.
January 6th pipe bomber investigation. Blaze News has the exclusive. Its lead suspect is at the highest levels of government. And Steve joins me now.
Who is it? Carlin Younger or?
How long have you been working on this story?
I've been pulling the threads on this for exactly 4 years.
I guess she's not in government anymore. She went private sector.
If anybody ever wondered why they made such a big deal out of arresting Steve, this is why.
I was so shocked by what I saw, I immediately took it to a source in one of the most important, highest level investigative federal agencies in the country. And I said, you have to see this. After they looked at it for about 2 hours, the response that I got back was, holy F, she's one of us.
And when you find out the position and
look at that. She's one of us. What have I said? Huh? What have I said the whole time? She's one of us.
She's one of us. She's one of us.
I see. I can't tell if he says he and the captions are getting it wrong, but.
And when you find out the position, this now will implicate so many people at the highest levels. What's your confidence level in this story?
I can give you forensic estimates, the analysis of the hoodied bomber on the evening of November 5th compared to the gait analysis of this individual in private life and at work.
Oh man, gait analysis, duh! Why don't I think of that?
Actual software hit at a 94% accuracy. Then human analysis from the experts in intelligence is much higher.
Yeah, AI can identify you by your gait now.
Looked at it and went, my God, that's it. You got it.
I'm telling you, that is a lady's walk.
In a world not gone mad, this would be a best-selling book and a major blockbuster movie. When it all comes out, this is going to involve everybody. I mean, this is really bad. Really, really bad. This apparently just has to be done right because of national security, I'm gathering. Is that right?
Correct.
And so they've got to take care of things they've got to take care of. Then
well, that's good to hear. I told you there are good people working very important things. They are there. No, a lot of times it does not seem that way. All too often it doesn't, but there are things cooking. There are coals burning. All right. Deputy AG Todd Blanche has asked the Bureau of Prisons to find any way they can legally move Tina Peters out of Colorado State Prison into federal prison.
I want to turn to something we're going to break right here, right now. I just got this before I came on air. The team will put it on air right now. Remember Tina Peters? She was the election clerk in Colorado that was sent to prison and convicted for her efforts to raise questions about election issues during the 2020 election in that state. Well, today, Just the News obtained this letter showing that the Deputy Attorney General in the federal government is working, Todd Blanche, is asked the Bureau of Prisons to find any way they can, legally, to move Tina Peters out of Colorado State Prison and into federal prison. Now, that could signal several things. One, they're worried about her safety. Two, that she might become a witness in some future federal investigation. Therefore, having her in federal custody would be a part. We don't know the reason for this request, but we have confirmed that this request has occurred. Breaking news, the story is going to be up on justthenews.com. You got it first because you watch us here on Real America's Voice. And I want to turn to something we're going to break right here, right now. I just got this before I came on air. The team will put it on air right now. Remember Tina Peters?
Interesting. Oh, wow. Zoran Mamdani's first meeting after winning was with AOC. They're going for the White House. Yep, the two of them. Absolutely, they are. Yep. We better watch out. Bad news. All right. Well, that does it for me. That's all we got. Believe Laura is in. How you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, I always said that had a female walk.
Yep.
And it was just by watching how, like, it just looked female to me, that person. But, you know, now in 2025, I mean, I could show you men that walk straight up like women today. I'm like, so, who knows?
Yeah.
It's a little alarming, though, that we can, you know, figure out who Antifa is just by their eyes, but you can't figure out who this is. And one portion of that video, I don't know how long it's been since you've watched it. I swear to you, while I'll say she now, who's the woman, it looked like they threw their hand up at the cops that was coming their direction. Like almost like they threw their hand up to wave at a cop that was coming towards them. And I always found that strange as well.
Yep.
And the fact that they're setting off a pipe bomb with a kitchen timer. They only go to 60 minutes, but then we're told it was set to detonate in the morning when people would be in the building. How's that possible?
Indeed. Well, I hope, I don't know if are they gonna tell us the identity of the person tomorrow?
I don't know. I pulled up while you were talking. I have both the Glenn Beck one and Redacted apparently interviewed the dude as well.
Cool.
So yeah, cool. I can kind of cover those. I don't know which to go with. I'll probably let chat decide. The Redacted one came out, and then the Glenn Beck one is also out. So
there you go.
So the Redacted one came out on the 1st.
Yep. Well, I'll let you get to it. I'll listen in on that. That's cool.
Yeah, we'll hit it first. Do you have it? Do you know who I'm talking about? Like the Redacted folks, the people that do the Redacted. Yeah. Who do you think is better, Redacted, or would you go with Glenn Beck?
I'd go with Beck.
Okay, I'll do that one. It's short. It's about the same, honestly. A little bit of minute difference. All right, we'll go with that.
Cool. Let me pop my shirt
play
off here.
some Glenn Beck. See if we can figure out who this damn pipe bomb is.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Go. Nice. Yeah. Right. Cool. Have a good show. See ya. All right, everybody. Well, that does it for me. Thank you. I do want to say thank you, by the way, to... did see one lone super chat roll in there. Just one. In addition to all those wonderful membership gifts from Steph. That's so cool. Thank you, Light Switch. I saw a $20 one roll in from Light Switch a little while back. So thank you. I think that's all there was. Yeah. All right. Well, guess that's it. I don't know. what else there really is to talk about. So I suppose I'm going to go kick it and relax because my head's kind of killing me. I don't know, that Novocaine getting, or whatever it is they use, lidocaine. I don't even know what, but it just gives me a freaking headache, man. They shoot your jaw full of that crap, and ugh. I don't know, maybe it's just like the swelling on nerves and stuff, but yeah, my head's killing me, so I'm gonna go lay down, relax with my lady. We're gonna go watch a movie on the laptop or something. I hope you guys have a good rest of your night, and I will see you tomorrow evening, Thursday evening. All right, bye bye, adios.